for the last time. Say goodbye for the last time. And with a sigh and these tears that I cry, oh my friend, oh my friend, oh my friend.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Last Goodbye Book, Heroes of America. I'm your host, Johnny Pizza Fratangelo, along with my executive producer, Nikki Fratangelo-Berardi, and our commentators, Ralph Narciso and Ray-Stingray Schnitzler. Today, we got a special guest on. The guy is the highest decorated detective in New York Police Department history. His name is Ralph Friedman. Ralph. And the book, he's author of the book, Street Warrior. This is a great book, people. You've got to read this book, okay? And he even had a mini series on called Street Justice. All right, Ralphie.
Yes.
I want you to introduce yourself to the people and let us know about yourself.
First, thank you for having me on the show, John.
Pleasure. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure. It's an honor. I'm a retired NYPD detective, as John said. I did all my police work in the Bronx. I was there from 1970 to 1984. And I was a trainee for 2 years before that because of my age. I was 19 and 20, and you had to be 21 to be an officer. So I did 2 years as a police trainee for the New York City Police Department. So total was like 16 years. And I distinguished myself by making a huge amount, extremely large amount of arrests. And I got involved in many high-profile cases and shootings on the street. I was involved in 15 police shootings where I had to shoot 8 guys, killing 4 of them. And it was back through the 70s, and the Bronx was very turbulent times back then. Bronx was burning. It was high crime rate, a lot of drugs, a lot of people trying to get out of the Bronx. It was a tough time for New York City in itself. It was going through a financial crisis. We had the Son of Sam during that time. We had the blackout of 77. A lot of things were going on in the Bronx. And I was part of it, a lot of it, involved in a lot of things there.
Ralph, were you a part of a small group?
I started out in the 41st precinct, which was called Fort Apache because it was such a violent area. It was, at one time when I was there, it was the most violent area to work in the United States. And after a year of working there in uniform, I was able to get myself into the 4-1 precinct anti-crime unit, which was a very select group of guys that made street arrests. We specialized in robberies and guns. And the purpose of anti-crime is really being there during the crime occurring. So you could be part of the testimony, and you had a better chance that way of putting real criminals and violent criminals away for a long time.
So that was undercover?
Yeah, we wore plain clothes.
Right.
And the purpose was to blend into the neighborhood, try to just be part of the scene. Like we worked out of milk trucks, garbage trucks, Con Ed trucks. We drove taxis. We'd hang out at construction areas dressed like construction guys carrying a shovel. Just anything to blend into the street and be part of the scene. And this way, and officers that were in the precinct would do we didn't have computers back then, but what they did was maps with pins in them and trying to locate the times, dates, and the areas where crimes were taking place, like purse snatches, robberies, trying to get what we call a pattern on crime. which is all done by computer today. But we didn't have computers, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have beepers. None of these. When I first started, we didn't even have portable radios. That was about a year later, and it was a whole different time. And we didn't have the kind of technology as today, but we got the job done, And it was also a different time in history where, it was still respect for people, respect for police officers and the law. In the last 3 years, I think everything got turned around, and the officers have a tough time today because they don't have the backing. And the officers are leaving the department in droves way before their 20 years. Some of them are just quitting law enforcement. A lot of them are taking jobs in other locales. It's gotten so bad. Retirements are at an all-time high. Right. It got so bad, even the police commissioner quit today.
Really?
I saw the news.
I didn't hear that.
Commissioner Sewell quit.
Yeah. Wow. Well, she. Wow. I read about that, being that she was pissed. She was pissed because Mayor Adams was exerting too much control over her decisions.
Well, I think it was Friday, right before the weekend. He took away all of her powers of promotion, which is just unheard of. I mean, the police department is ran by the police commissioner, who the mayor actually handpicks himself, but he's supposed to give her the responsibility. But every police commissioner had the power to promote people to detective and to ranks in the detective bureau, and to promote sergeants and lieutenants and captains, and every rank above captain is an appointed position. That's not civil service. Even the civil service positions are approved by the commissioner. But he took away all her power. I don't blame her for quitting.
How can you?
Actually,
Ralph,
yes.
I have a question to ask you, being that we're talking about the police commissioner. And so if you were to send out a word to New York today, what advice would you give the police commissioner to try to change things, to turn things around a little bit?
You mean the new police commissioner, whoever it's going to be?
Yeah.
Well, it's very hard for a police commissioner to turn things around by himself or herself, because they're at the mercy of the mayor. The mayor handpicks them and could fire them, just like he basically probably wanted her to quit because he knew she would do that by taking away the powers that he did. She just had enough. But I mean, how on any job, a boss could make your life miserable where they don't have to fire you, you'll quit. I think that's what he did to her. But I give her credit for walking out, before he did more
Ralph,
things to her. Yes.
Ralph, who was the police commissioner in your day?
Well, I remember Michael Card was a police commissioner. He was the one who awarded me the New York City's Combat Cross for actions I took in the line of duty. There were a few others. I don't remember their names. It was quite a few years ago. I came on like about 55 years ago, 56 years ago. Came on in 1968. There were quite a few police commissioners over the years.
Wow. Let me ask you something, Ralph. Talking about this police commissioner resigning, do you think that the Democratic Party is controlling the mayor, right? And
without a doubt, that's one of the problems with all police departments today. They're being ran by politicians. They're setting the standards and setting the tone.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that, do you think they want her to quit so they could put somebody else that they want in there?
It got to the point. Yeah.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Well, she had a good reputation. She was a good commissioner. At first, we didn't think she would be, because she came from commanding like 350 people in the Long Island to doing like 50,000 in the New York City Police Department, including crossing guards and school officers and the 35,000 New York City police. But she did a really good job. She was a very stand-up person. And I think she was very straightforward. And wound up, I think she was a good commissioner. You know, she didn't let people boss her around. She had her position and her job, and she took it seriously and was good. But the problem with all police departments is that politicians are running them. And it really should be ran by police that come up through the ranks, that are knowledgeable, have experience and training.
Right.
Right.
So
and we can draw
that were promoted from within.
And we could draw a connection with that, as John experienced the same thing in Vietnam. There's a war that was run by politicians instead of the generals and the people on the ground, the grunts who were out there fighting it.
That's usually the case, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then when they do something great, they want to take all the credit from the heroes. You know.
I'd like to make a comment. I think the biggest problem is that, you know, it's going against the cop, is that this mayor, this governor is not backing them. So if you...
Well, that's been the problem for a while. We've seen that for the last 3 years when we had riots in New York. There were riots everywhere in the United States, but we saw that in New York, and they were told to stand down. We watched them commit felonies, arson, assaults, looting, burning police cars, burning stores. We saw every felony crime, and they were ordered to stand down.
Right.
The police were thick about that.
That's what my point is that if you have a situation where a cop is going to arrest and he's risking his life, you know, and then you got to be justified for, you know, whatever you decide to do. You know, you have these radical groups out there that
that's why police are leaving. That's why police are leaving.
Yeah, well, they're pretty much telling the politicians, this is what we want. No, it's not what you want. It's like you said, you know, what would be better than to have, you know, an experienced, you know, policeman running the show rather than the mayor, which has no clue, even though that Adams was through the ranking. Still,
Adams was not what we call a real cop.
No,
he
of course
studied,
not.
Worked his way up the civil service ladder. Never did any police work.
Right, we know we know that, but the public, the average public.
Well, this is why they say elections have consequences. You know.
Oh, absolutely.
There's 8 million people in New York. Obviously, some aren't of voting age, but only 1 million people turned out to vote on the last election. That's
horrible.
A small percentage. It's terrible. So now you're getting the results of that election.
Right.
You know, the people that didn't vote are complaining.
Well, I think this is a nationwide problem. You know, you speak for all the cops all over that are risking their lives, and you know, the average public doesn't understand the responsibility and the consequences.
They understand only when they need help and they call and the police respond and help them. I mean, the police are the protectors, and they're like, people are turning and politicians are turning. That's the in thing to do today, is to turn against your protectors. You got to have respect for your military and your law enforcement.
I totally
protect
agree.
The country and your cities. It actually doesn't make any sense. But everything with this woke thing going on makes no sense. Everything's upside down and backwards. And it's like in the old Steinfeld show. They said it was a bizarro world. You know, and we're actually experiencing it now.
Superman magazines. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We're actually experiencing this trend of wokeism that's ruining everything.
Right. I've always said this, you know, and again, you know, the public needs to understand, you could never put a price tag on a policeman or a policewoman's life. Let me tell you, people out there that don't understand the politics. The politics is simple. You guys take the risks, and then regardless of whether you're right or whether you're wrong, you pay the consequences. The politicians need to go. That's the biggest problem.
Well, like I say, you have to vote. That's what's going to change things.
Right.
Voting is something that the military, shed blood for our rights to vote.
Right.
To have a democratic society, and we're just this wokeism. I can't even tell you right now how to explain woke. But when I say woke, everyone, what I'm talking about.
Right.
That this place is falling apart due to these ultra liberal policies. There's not like Democrats when we grew up. When I was growing up, all working class people were Democratic.
Right.
But now the Democrats have moved so far left. There's liberalism and conservatism. The country is really we're really split down the middle. And I don't know how it happened. It happened right before our eyes, and
we watched it
tearing us apart. If the politicians would stop fighting among each other and just do their job to work for the American public, we'd all be better off.
Right.
So how do you feel, Ralph, about the fact that, like, I know I'm not going to name his name, but he just became a New York City policeman, and he's been told many times not to go after the small things. Like, you don't go after a bad registration on the car. You don't go after a broken taillight. You don't go after things like, very small things are, but what it leads to
in the scheme of things,
right.
Because that's the broken window theory,
right.
that Maples made that the transit, and they said if you go after the small things, it'll lead you to the big things or prevent the big things. You get a guy with a broken taillight, it could be a stolen car, or it could be full of drugs or guns, or they could be wanted. But this gives you the right to follow up, and I thought it was a very good policing technique. And it's
of course
a tool of the trade. I think they're going against these small things because they try to make everything racism, and they try to say, well, you're stopping not the right amount of whites or too many blacks or non-whites. But if you work in an all-black neighborhood, you're working in Harlem, obviously all the statistics are going to be you're stopping people of color. It's a thing that happens. If you work in an all-white neighborhood, obviously your numbers are going to be higher for stopping white people. Right. But they make a thing of it.
Right.
And you know what it is? It's the old adage that says the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So you got a small amount of people that are very vocal, and they get all the people hear them.
Well, that's the thing. If you're an honest person, you don't have to worry about these things. If you're if you're dishonest, you don't want your picture on the license. If you're dishonest, you don't want your picture on the voter's registration card. You don't want your fingerprint on the voter's registration card. But you know what? The politicians are catering to the criminals and not the good guys. And I'm getting sick and tired.
Not only the good guys, they don't care about victims either.
No.
Right. I was just going to get to that. What about the victim? That person just
got the rights. But
this guy just lost his wife that he's been married to for 51 years because some thug comes over the border and kills her. But it's okay.
That's another whole story with this border.
Right.
All the federal agents, all police, all law enforcement, and all military, we're sworn to protect America from, all these people coming across. It's totally illegal. If you get on a plane tomorrow just to go to Florida or California or fly upstate, they're going to check you out. And then yet the borders are open to illegals that are unchecked. We know America is made of immigrants, but you got to do it the legal way.
Right.
I think all immigrants that came in here legally, they should be even madder that they were forced to do it that way. And
they are
coming in now, and we don't know what's coming in. Are they rapists? Are they terrorists? Are they murderers? I've heard stories, and I've been reading that a lot of these countries are emptying out their prisons and their mental hospitals and letting them come into America unchecked. And then this way they don't have to pay for their prisoners and their mental patients.
Yep.
Just get them to America.
Yep.
And this is This is
It's a disgrace.
a major crisis and a disgrace.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. You know, to think that they, you know, see, you know, again, we get back to what you said originally, go out and vote, you know, but yet the again, you know, the good guy tries to do everything the right way, and then he's got a million different things going against him. From
You know, the
from
good
scrap.
guys, the good guys are very busy living a decent life and working and supporting their families. And I think a lot of them forgot how our military shed blood for our right to vote, and how now they're starting to see how important it is because so many liberals have infiltrated our system, and they're the ones like turning the tide of America. And we could see just on a New York City level alone how just a few people could screw up a whole city.
Right.
Now you have a lot of people, and they're screwing up the whole country.
Right. Well, you know, here's one thing. Okay, I got to say this because education. Okay, lack of education. That
But
these politicians, you say you got the right to vote. Okay, vote. But these people are voting for politicians that are lying to them, so they're brainwashed, so they don't know any better. But if they were educated and they could understand what the truth is from the false, then they can vote for the right person. Right now, they're voting for people who are bamboozling them. Okay,
that's true.
That's the
And
problem.
also, the main media is corrupted. Mainstream media is corrupted.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And
They're all
our
brainwashed.
colleges are corrupted with professors that are teaching. They're brainwashing these students, and the others, grade school and stuff. They're like so compromised that the teachers are lucky they could just take attendance. They're lucky. They're happy to go home not being assaulted.
Assaulted, right? Exactly.
You know, but the school system is falling apart too. You know, they don't
Yep.
learn in grade schools. Now they get to college and they get brainwashed.
Yep. It's
You know,
terrible.
You know, it's they were sold a bill of goods like student loans will be forgiven. Biden didn't even have that right to do that.
No, he didn't have that.
And where
right.
do you draw the line? Why I didn't go to school? I didn't go to college, and I had to work. What about people that just finished paying their loans or paid them 5 years ago or 10 years ago? And these kind of things, they're telling lies. Just like in California, they're trying to tell them every black person is going to get reparations. Come on.
And now
California is at a $31 trillion
Deficit.
deficit. They can't afford what they're talking about. It's a pipe dream. They're just trying to get votes and lying to the people.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
right,
They're lying.
and now they just started a study in New York to look at the same thing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the first slave owner in the United States was black. He had 5
Right.
slaves, and I think 3 of them were white.
Yeah.
But you know what else too is that the more illegals that they get here, the more votes that they get. You know,
Not
And
necessarily.
well,
Well,
Ralph,
Not
that's
necessarily.
that's their
Ralph,
plan,
let me get
that eventually
my
they
point
get
across.
more
My
votes.
point is that most of these people that aren't being checked out that are coming in, it's okay for them to vote. It's not okay for you to vote.
Well,
Once
some
you
cities
come-
and states are trying to make it legal for them to vote, but
Right,
they're draining
that's
our
what I was
system.
gonna-
They're overflowing our schools. They're overflowing our resources. They're overflowing the hospitals. Everything's going to take a hit. It has been taking a hit.
Yeah.
Right.
We're like 3 years into this, and
Right.
they're
have no-
devaluating the dollar because they
Right.
keep printing, and between the illegals coming in and our money going out to other countries, you know, we give money to these other countries like it's nothing. They're bringing
Right.
loads of money to
Right. My
Ukraine and
My
Iran
point
and-
is my grandparents came here legally. They went through
So did
Ellis
mine.
County.
probably
I
all of
don't
our
have a
parents.
problem. I don't want the people to think that I hate everybody, but
Not at
I
all.
just don't like the people who are coming over and mooching
Unchecked.
off our system for nothing, and they're not coming over legally. If you come over and you do the right thing, you're welcome, but don't come here and mooch off our system and then like cut the police force, cut the fire force. So it's okay for your house to burn down because we got to allow to pay for these people that are coming over here illegally.
You don't have a country if you don't have borders.
No.
Right. No, I
That's
totally agree. Totally agree.
Well, that's why we don't have a country anymore. Believe it or not. Hey, look, that's the fact. We do not have a
falling
country
apart
anymore.
rapidly in front of our eyes.
Okay, that's right. And
And
it's
it's
going
on
to
each
get worse.
level.
It's going to get worse.
As we started out talking about police and fire, that's on a city level. But then you see it on a state level. Then you see it on the whole country.
It's a domino effect
of our society is collapsing.
Yeah. People gotta see what's happening around them. They are so focused on this woke crap and this the gender thing. Okay.
That's another whole subject.
Meanwhile, all around them, Rome is burning. It's an expression.
Yep.
Hero fiddled while Rome burned, and that's what's happening right now.
I think a lot of people did start to see it.
They are now.
They got hit in two places that affects everybody: the supermarket and the gas station. So I think they're starting to see that elections have consequences.
Ralph, it's going to get worse than that. They're going to hit us. They're going to hit us before the next election because hopefully Trump will get back in with all this other crap get out of the way. All right. He's the only one that will save it. He's the only one that will save this country. I don't care. DeSantis, he's okay. I like him. But he's going to get in that office and he's going to scratch his head because he's not going to know what the hell to do. Okay?
Exactly. He's a governor. He's a great governor.
When to do it, how to do it.
Governor, but he's not on the world stage.
These people, they're not looking outside our borders to the China's in our backyard. They're in our own country right now. They're going to hit us. People, they're going to hit. I would have liked to see. You're going to think the world's coming to an end.
I would have liked to see Trump and DeSantis come together.
Yes.
Trump take 4 years, and then DeSantis is very young. He could take the next 8.
Exactly.
They should have worked that out, and it would have been better for both of them and for the country.
That's the problem. They instead of battling each other, here's what I think. I mean, I'm watching these people who are running for the Republican candidates.
Well, there's a couple of good ones, to be honest.
Yes, there's a lot of good ones. But wait a minute,
Scott is very good.
There are a lot of good ones. But now they're talking down on Trump. That's wrong.
What they're doing is they're pitting each other against each other. But that's normally what the primary is.
Yeah, but Ralphie, here's what I'm trying to say. Look, you want a party that's together, united. Okay.
Yeah, but the primaries, pits them against each other. One of the rules of the primary is that whoever does get nominated, the other ones are supposed to back them.
Well, yeah, but the way they're going doesn't look like it. I mean, they should back Trump, every single one of them right now. Should back Trump.
They are supporting the fact that he was indicted. They all say it's wrong because they're smart enough to know that if they got Trump out of the way, they could do that to anybody else. They could just indict them.
But just today, I'm hearing them all say, like Bill Barr, right? William Barr.
Oh, that guy.
Okay, all right. He's saying that. Trump. If this is the way it was, Trump is toast.
I heard him say that last night.
He's toast. And Nikki Haley went against him again today. And that Pence. People, I got to tell you about Pence. Okay,
these are not stand-up people.
Wait a minute, he's got no guts.
He can't.
The spineless coward. Okay, wait a minute. Let me finish. I got to get this point off my chest. All right. When I liked Pence at first. When I saw him. When Trump gave his executive, what do you call it? What do you call it, Ralph? His speech. His first
concession speech.
Executive privilege.
No.
Executive privilege.
Wait a minute. What do you call it? Oh my God, my brain. Anyway.
Executive order.
He was standing behind Trump. Okay, and then Pelosi was right next to him. Okay. She started ripping his speech up.
Oh, yeah.
The State of the Union.
State of the Union. Right. Thanks, Ralph. Pence stood there, didn't do a damn thing. Okay, he should have took that paper out of her hands and embarrassed her right in front of everybody. And say, "What are you doing here?" The
That's
guy's
right.
a spineless. And you want a guy run real country that's got no guts? Okay, he was a
John. Pence doesn't have a chance in hell of winning the presidential nomination.
And neither does Christie. Neither does Christie.
None of them do.
Because
there's only two things: it's DeSantis or Trump, and that's it. And final.
I was just gonna say, people. Just in case you forgot, remember the George Washington Bridge problem?
Yeah.
Christie was behind that. So
100%.
Right. This is what my theory is. My theory is that Trump's gonna win. He's gonna win hand over fist. If DeSantis plays his cards right and treats Trump with dignity in the race, he'll get a job from Trump. It'll be a great card, Trump and DeSantis, and then we can start getting back to living lives the way we're supposed to be living a lot.
That's a fantasy, Ray.
But let me finish. But if DeSantis screws Trump, all bets are off.
That's right. No, he's
Because
finished. Yeah.
Trump will destroy anybody with not just facts. He will humiliate them, which will make it worse.
He's got a perfect record. He's got a perfect 4 years.
But when Trump was in power, did the Republicans, they had both houses of Congress. Did they back him? No. They bickered amongst them. They bickered amongst themselves because they're all a bunch of power hungry slobs, and they didn't care one shit about Trump. Okay, they could have backed him, and they could have passed all kinds of legislation in those first 2 years, and they didn't. You know why? Because they didn't like him, because they're part of the swamp too. And if you don't see that, the Republicans are just as bad. They're just as bad.
Listen to me, Ralphie, and mark my words. Ralph, if Trump gets in, I'll tell you right now, he's smartened up. Okay, his big mistake was not firing all the Obama leftovers when he first got office. Okay?
I was just going to say that.
He's smartened up now. Okay, he's going to get rid of every single, from the FBI to the Department of Justice, DOJ.
But he can't fire congressmen.
Well, whatever, he's got to get rid of a lot of these buzzers that he can get rid of. At least it's a start.
Yeah, that's true. But the senators and the congressmen and the House of Representatives and the senators, they didn't back him. They didn't back him at all. They could have passed the taxation legislation. They could have passed the full carry law for being able to carry a pistol anywhere in the United States. They didn't want to pass that. They don't want to touch that shit. They're full of shit. They're all full of shit.
They're all bought and paid for. They're not full of shit. They're bought and paid for. There's a difference.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So
this what talks. This what talk. Okay, I don't care what they do. The money talks, man. You give this guy money. If they're any kind of patriot, they'll tell you to take the money and shove it up your ass. I'm not going to take no bribe. You know what I mean?
That's right. But they're not.
The $1 million question here is: will the military run the election? Because if not, it's going to be the same thing. The military should have the right to, go with the election.
It's not going to be the same thing. It's going to be eyes open this time. I think they fell asleep at the wheel last time.
I think that if you look at, to get back to Pence, he can't even get 100 people at a rally.
No, he's a waste of time. He's
right, and so Trump had millions of people, and so everyone that has common sense knows that election was rigged. Everybody knows it's rigged.
Absolutely.
And so if you could rig an election, right, and let a guy that shoots a cop get away with murder, then you know what? They're going to keep on and keep on. So now you take the military, and the military makes sure that those votes get to where they got to go, and nothing disappears.
Yeah, but the problem with that, who owns the military? Who owns the military?
I'm not
Congress.
just,
Tell them what.
listen, I'm
The
not just.
president is their commander in chief. This idiot is their commander in chief, and the ones who are running it, aside from Biden, we know he's not running it.
Right.
They all want to put America away. So I mean, who's?
Hey, can I interject something, because we're a little off topic? I just want to know. There's a one of the audience member I think wants to know what. Yeah, what Ralph Friedman's book is called.
Yeah, it's Street Warrior. Can you see it?
Street Warrior.
Street Warrior.
It's on Amazon, and the show Street Justice: The Bronx is also on available through 17 streaming areas.
Right.
Apple, Demand, Amazon Prime.
Is it on Netflix too?
No, Amazon Prime now.
Okay, all right. It's a great book.
So Ralph, do you think you got a shot at bringing it back to mainstream TV, a new series?
Well, I'm always trying. I try to keep my name out there by going on podcasts such as John's. I still get written up on a lot of newspapers and things, but one of the problems was with the show was it was a time-specific thing, and it's outdoors, which is brings the cost up a lot. You know, we didn't have a budget like, say, Blue Bloods or something. You know, when you work outside and time-specific, you're talking about clothing, cars, jewelry, hairstyles. You got to close streets. You need private security. You need the regular police. You need permits. So that was one big thing. And the other big thing, we ran into the anti-cop sentiment came in. So a lot of people backed off from police books and stories and shows, you know. So it was very hard to get the funding and the money needed to proceed forward.
That's what
everything was on hold for years.
Right. Who funded your miniseries?
Well, it started out with Discovery, the Discovery Channel. It was brought to them by the producers of Jupiter Productions, and it went to the Discovery first, then to the ID Channel, and I had one season, 6 shows, and now it's, like I said, on streaming sites such as Amazon Prime, Apple, Demand, and all. It's funny. It's just someone looked it up today and said it was on 17 streaming sites.
Really?
Hey, Ralph.
I saw it, and it's very close to the book.
You know, they wanted something real, the show, but then they also couldn't handle the real stuff. You know, they started saying, did anybody come in horizontal? You know, did anyone come in vertical, actually?
Right.
You know, but, you know, I was telling them real stories and how they were. You know, they would ask them to tone it down, which we didn't do. And the production was great.
Ralph, because I was just thinking about this. Can you explain to people that were non-New York people what Fort Apache was like? Because I don't think a lot of people understand how bad it really was in the Bronx at that time.
Well, it was, every kind of crime was occurring on a minute basis all the time. But I think a lot of people did get to know about Fort Apache from that Paul Newman movie. That was called Fort Apache, the Bronx.
Right.
And Bronx has a reputation throughout the world. You know, people come, hear about the Bronx. When they come to New York, they stay in Manhattan, but they've always heard about the Bronx. It has a reputation for being a very dangerous and criminal area, you know. And like I was discussing with John before the show, I'm doing a little speech for this coming Saturday night at an event for someone's birthday who was born in 1973. And he was born in the Bronx. And I'm going to touch on a lot of facts of the Bronx. And one of the facts was that the Yankees, Howard Cosell, the sports announcer, who was very famous, during the 1977 World Series Game 2, they had a helicopter was flying above doing a spot on the World Series. But they happened to pick up that was shown on TV, a building burning. And Howard Cosell said, "There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Bronx is burning." And that became a famous statement for like the last 50 years. You know,
Wow.
last like 45 years. But it had a reputation that's pretty worldwide known. You know.
So, Ralph,
I mean, not only was there crime, there was violent crime, and there was a decaying of the neighborhoods and the buildings. You know, if you look back, well, if I look back on my show, or if people watch my show now, there's actual footage, and you'll see it looks like Ukraine.
Yeah, it looks like a war zone. Yeah.
Yeah, it would definitely. The buildings looked like they were bombed. It was so bad. You know.
Well, the landlords. But a lot of landlords were burning their own buildings down because they couldn't rent them.
And also, the junkies were stripping because all the plumbing was copper.
Copper, the
and
wiring
a lot of money. So, at one point, they were selling buildings, 5-story buildings, were on the market for $1. The city of New York seized the buildings because the landlords abandoned them, and they were trying to sell them for $1 a piece, just so people could pay the taxes and get the neighborhood rejuvenated.
Yeah, that Hunts Point section was really like a war zone down there. I'm telling you.
It was. It's a terrible area. It was a crime-ridden, drug-infested.
Yep.
You know, it was really like a throwback to the Wild West. You know, you heard gunshots all the time, and the police were in gun battles all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, Ralph.
Marseille Hospital was some trauma center, man. That hospital was get all kinds of trauma.
Which hospital did you say?
Marseille.
No, actually, it was in Marseille area, but it was Lincoln Hospital was the worst.
Really? It was worse than that? Yeah.
Lincoln Hospital was the worst hospital.
Okay.
I was there when we took it back over because gangs seized it once. But it was definitely a place you wanted to go if you got shot.
Yeah, because
you might die from the aftercare. But the trauma guys were incredible because they were doing it every minute.
Exactly.
Right. You know, you go to a good neighborhood,
like a mass
doctors handling like one gunshot a year, maybe. They were handling it by the hour.
Yeah, like a mass.
Ralph, what would you say was
exactly
right?
What would you say was your best accomplishment of being a detective? If you look back at your whole career, like what was the thing that you were so proud of the most that you've done?
Well, I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to be involved in a lot of things. You know, I was, like I told you earlier, I was involved in a lot of shootings, and people say, "Oh, well, you killed these amount of people," but I look at it more like if I was justified in doing it, which I was, that means I was saving lives. You know, I either saved my own, my partners, or civilians. And that's why I had to resort to deadly physical force, was to save lives. You know, so, I mean, that's a big accomplishment when you know you save people's lives.
Right.
You know.
And Ralph, how do you feel about the difference between police tactics then and police tactics now? Like, for instance, on your show, you watch you're the actor who's playing you, just rush into a building, you know, gun drawn, ready to do whatever you had to do. Whereas today, it's like, you know, completely opposite, just about.
Well, it is opposite. And I feel, you know, that New York City should be thankful. All cities should be thankful as men and women that want to do the job. They're trained much better today with the technology they have. But we did the training we had. We did the best we could at that time, and it was good policing. But it's today it wouldn't be considered good policing because of the rules and the laws and the agendas have changed. But I'll give you an example. One day we used to go to the range, and you would fire at a target, and you would fire at different speeds from one hand to the other, whatever. And one day they told us, "We're going high tech. We're coming in, and you're going to do a high-tech course." And the idea of New York City at that time of high-tech was they had a fire hydrant, an abandoned car, and a parking meter, and you would hide behind that to fire. And today, we all know that they have high tech, like grocery stores, supermarkets, banks, all done in digital, and it's so high tech. It's beyond anything we could. It was more than science fiction than we were trained in. But today they have computers, they have DNA, they got fingerprint matches, they got blood. They're trained so well, and it's a shame they can't use that training as good, And they took away a lot of our main tools. One of our main tools was stop and frisk, stop, question, and frisk. And that's a very big tool in policing. They say, and when I say they, the liberals, they say, we misused them. They were illegal. It's a change of times. But policing was good then, and policing is good now. But they're just not allowing them to use the special training they get. But they're so highly trained today. It's like 1 foot forward and 2 steps back with the agendas.
Yeah, I watch OP Live. It's on Reels on channel 177 by me. It's was killed by A&E when A&E had it was live PD, and A&E killed it after what's his name was murdered by that cop, and whether you call it murder or not, he was killed in police custody.
George Floyd.
Yeah, George Floyd. But so A&E dropped it, but a couple of years later, this other channel picked it up. Now, so if you watch OP Live, these cops are doing a super difficult job. I mean, every interaction with the public is clean. They're clean. They're not being nasty. And they're getting talked to like they're pieces of shit. And yet they maintain their cool. In the face of that.
It's a new breed of cop also. They're brought up under those conditions. It's harder for a cop to change. I wouldn't be able to police today. My belief is that, citizens should respect the police and criminals should fear the police. I believe that we were taught, it was the way I was taught. It was a time, and we were trained that you overpower them. No matter what happens, you have to be on top. You got to be aggressive. You got to be masculine. You can't show any weakness, and you overpower them. They don't want you to overpower today. They want you to do like, one thing that came out over the years was verbiage judo, verbal judo. They want you to do, be polite, and they, in my day, you wouldn't have people throwing water on cops and no consequences. It's a breakdown of respect for the law and order and police. They couldn't get away with that stuff. Not that they didn't do things to cops back then, but they'd have to pay the price. Today, there's no price, no accountability. People aren't held accountable. Cops were assaulted all the time, but the perpetrator got assaulted back. They knew they had to pay a price for it.
I think they should take the politician and put them with a cop when they become a politician.
These politicians have never went into a back alley or a backyard or in the ghetto at 2 or 3 in the morning alone, no less with a partner, And another thing, we didn't have body cams and no one had cell phones back then. And another thing they did to the police department in New York City, which the police thought they wanted, but they didn't realize what they were getting into. See, there's a thing called, like, when you're in a department, there's units that are called special units that are called details. So let's say you're in a special detail, like say a summons, a red light unit or a speeding unit. You work special hours with weekends off, And what they did in one of the union contracts along the years was they fixed it that every cop could work straight hours. They could either do 8 to 4s or 4 to 12s or midnight to 8s. And once they did that, you put every cop was assigned like a detail. They could hurt you. The cops thought it was great because, one cop always wanted to work midnights because he had a day job. Or he wanted to work midnights because he had to take the kids to school or, whatever his wife scheduled. They all locked themselves into a detail. And then you can't get hurt. You could get hurt. When you were working around the clock, you couldn't get hurt because you were doing every shift. You did a few nights of midnights, a few nights 8 to 4s, a few nights of 4 to 12s. So now everyone being on this detail, they could hurt you because your life revolves around your shift. You know, being if your wife worked or you had school or your kids going to school. So they could take you, you could be doing 10 years and 8 to 4s. And if you don't do what they want you to do or you fall out of line, they say you could be doing 4 to 12. So it would totally change your life and the ones near to your lives also. So that was something that hurt the police. They thought it was a great thing because they all wanted to work certain shifts. You know?
Yeah.
So there's things that happened over the years that hurt policing. You know, a cop should work around the clock and, you know, be subject to all kinds of things. You know, when you're working just day shifts, it's very different than working midnights or 4 to 12s.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so these are things that hurt the police in policing. And then along with everybody having a camera, a cop gets out of a car to get a cup of coffee or a slice of pizza. He's being filmed like he's on a TV show.
Right.
He's a star,
Oh, yeah.
You know, you make the wrong move, or you walk out without your hat, or you take a cigarette, or just there's so many kind of things they could get you for. And everything's being filmed in body cam and car cams. And it's just, you know, you're on display. So it's hard to do real police work because real police work is dangerous and dirty.
And not to mention that, you know, when we were kids, we were brought up by our parents to respect the police. He was your friend.
That's right.
And there was always cops on the beat. When I lived in East 217th Street in the Bronx. Used to always go down the corner. There was the cop that was there every day. He was everybody's friend. All the kids go around, want to look at his gun and all kinds of stuff, you know.
Exactly.
And he'd tell you some stories that would get you all scared. But you respected him. You knew that if you got lost, if you got hurt, where'd you go first? You went to the cop. He was your friend. He was going to help you and save you. Now the kids are raised to think that cops are shit, and that's what sucks about the whole thing.
99% of cops want to do the right thing. They want to protect people. They want to help people, and that's what they do.
Right.
They're special calling, and it amazes me how people could turn against them.
Yeah, but I can't understand.
You know, there's politicians out there who say there shouldn't even be jails and there shouldn't be no police.
Right.
What would it be? It'd be a jungle.
Yeah. Yeah. A social worker is going to come.
Robbing, raping, burglarizing everybody there is. They'd be selling. It's just such stupid talk.
Yeah.
You could go into a store and rob $999 worth of merchandise and get away with it. So 10 minutes later, come back again and rob another $999 worth. It's outrageous. It's insane. They're beyond insane.
They closed all the Walmart stores in the Chicago area in the city.
California too. A lot of
because of theft.
Because of theft.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how out of hand it's getting.
Yeah.
Imagine they tell you could steal $950.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so nuts.
That's crazy.
People of our age and our background comprehend this stuff.
There's something wrong when you know that you could go into a store and just help yourself and not be afraid of what the consequences.
You know how bad it's gotten that companies are firing employees that try to stop or call the police. Even if you don't do anything, you call the police.
How insane is that?
You get fired.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Oh, okay.
Not.
Here's another interesting thing to think about. Where I live, okay, there was I can't mention the name, but the insurance company funds police academies. So the BLM found out, and they said that they were going to riot, these areas. Where I live, the police were there. There was major police presence. Nothing happened. But yet, in the other cities where this had happened, again, if you have a large police presence and you let the police do what they're supposed to do, then things run different. But if you do it in cities where the policemen have their arms tied up, and the same thing happens. That's when the riots happen, because the policeman doesn't have the right, according to these groups. So that's a big problem. So I think that it should be a federal problem, and the federal government should step in and say, hey, look, if you guys are going to riot, or you guys are going to kill a cop, or you guys we're going to back you. And you see, and that would alleviate a lot of these problems. But again, until you clean up everything, we got to be optimistic, and we got to pray and hope to God that the next person who comes in is a cop lover and does the right thing, because God help us.
You don't have to be a cop lover. You got to be someone who's for law enforcement. Enforce the laws. Worry about the citizens that are victims.
Right.
Please do their jobs. You don't have to be a cop lover. You just got to be someone who's for law enforcement.
Right.
You just have to respect. There's no respect for authority today amongst young people. Young people don't respect authority, period. Where my significant other works in the Bronx in a medical office, and the children that come in with their parents in tow, the parents are there, are out of control. They don't respect anyone next to them.
Their parents alone. The parents don't respect.
Right. Oh yeah, and the parents are right there on their cell phone cursing in a medical office with doctors present right there. They don't care. They have a potty mouth. They don't have respect for authority or anyone in any position of any kind of power, like a medical receptionist or a doctor or anything. It's across the board. No respect.
Total disgrace.
All right.
I had a question to ask you too. I thought about, you had mentioned in the beginning of the show, you mentioned serial killers, Son of Sam. I remember that was a big thing of me growing up in, all the boroughs, with him killing, all those women. Can you tell us, were you part of that investigation for?
Every police officer was working on the Son of Sam, trying to get information. We all, as plainclothesmen, all cops were trying to get information, but specialty units, all plainclothes, detectives, we were all getting sites to sit on. We all got assigned to certain areas at different times and days. It would have been, a big feather in your cap to grab someone like the Son of Sam. His first strike was in the Bronx. He shot 2 girls in the Pelham Bay area, Valentini and another girl. But they were
the Jewish girl. Her name. She was Jewish. She had a Jewish name.
No, that wasn't the first one. Her name was Stacy something.
His name was Berkowitz, wasn't it?
Yep.
No.
They wound up. He worked in the Bronx.
Yeah, you know where he
worked at
lived?
the post office on 138th.
Post office. He lived. He lived about 3 blocks. He lived about 3 blocks away from me. I lived in Yonkers at the time.
Yeah,
he was off Roberts Avenue and Broadway there. Because my brother-in-law lived
near Ashburton.
Yeah. Ashburton.
Yeah, because
and he worked in the Bronx. He was a postal worker.
Yeah,
because he slipped through the cracks. He got away with that for 13 months of 76 and 77.
I was just going to say my best friend was Johnny Deal, which was in the car in Queens with Stacy Markowitz. He was the guy.
That's the one, Stacy Markowitz.
Right, Johnny Deal. He just died a few years ago. But I remember all the news being up in my neighborhood, of Queens, and I remember every detective from every borough would go.
Everybody worked on that case.
Yeah, it was
one way or another.
That was unbelievable.
That one guy terrorized the whole city.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And that's.
No, I don't want to interrupt you, Ray.
I'm sorry. No, I what I was going to say is that that's why you need good police work like what you did, for these types of crimes, to understand somewhat of what is a serial killer, like the little police work, when you go around the 5 boroughs, you got every detective working on a case like that. That's got to be the greatest feeling, when you get
what cracked the case was
right.
He got a summons in Brooklyn, and it was old police work of going through all the summonses to find it and trace it back. It was great police work, and it was just a fluke that the crime lasted so long. And actually, when they did catch him, the night he locked him up, he had a bunch of guns and ammunition in the car with a note saying he was on the way to some discotheque to shoot that up. And that would have been really bad because he would have shot and maybe killed a lot of people in one shot. But that was his next plan, was to do a disco. It was great police work. And took a while, but the NYPD always gets it done.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the best. Yeah.
That's the thing. And like you said, that's old school police work. They didn't have anything. They had no computers, nothing.
No. Today they would find that summonses probably in a minute. Probably 1 minute.
Yeah.
If
it was written correctly.
Well, they're serialized and they're you can scan them, they're scanned and serialized, and it's all computerized. Get them in a minute. But that's the advancements of technology today.
Yeah, can't get
forensics came a long way.
Yeah, forensics. Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, the one you were talking about, the specialized units before. That's what De Blasio did the first day or first week he was there. He disbanded that anti-crime unit. Right, there was like 600 and something cops involved. He disbanded them, put them all back.
Best units, most aggressive. These are guys that are interrupting crimes, putting their bodies and lives on the line constantly. Anti-crime is a really good unit. I wish I could have stayed in it my whole career. But I was lucky enough that in the detective bureau, when I went there, they gave me sort of a free rein to do my anti-crime work. But I was also investigating hundreds of cases, but they let me go out and sort of what I call do my thing,
Yeah. That respect, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, it was a different age of policing, and what I'm saying from the beginning is we were taught different. We were taught you go out there, and if someone raised their hands to you, you had nightsticks back then. They didn't have. They don't use them now. Someone raised their hands to you. They said you crack their fucking head open. That's what you were instructed to do. That's what we were taught to do, and that's what we were trained to do. The criminals had to fear you. You had to own the streets so the decent people could walk around and could sleep at night.
Yeah. Now, years ago, when the cops came, the criminals would run. Now, when the cops come, they attack the cops.
Today they stand there and they sue you.
Yeah, and they attack.
They videotape everything. What happened to the back in the old days? If there was an incident, a crime happening or whatever, or the cops were arresting somebody, and you got close to them, they tell you, "Hey, get the out of here." And if you don't, I'm arresting you.
Yeah.
De Blasio instituted a thing where you could sue the police, and he was giving out almost for every arrest. If you said you were manhandled or you were hit or you were disrespected or cursed, almost every prisoner got $900 to $1,500 for being arrested. He made it into a job for criminals.
Oh,
right.
A lot of people don't know how bad it was. It was publicized a little. That's how I know about it. But they were giving away the money like, you got locked up. It was a job.
Wow.
They sued the police and the city settled every case. So they were getting between $900 and $1,500 for every arrest.
And how do you feel about them wanting to close Rikers?
It's absolutely insane because Rikers It's an island unto itself. It's a perfect penal colony. All they should do is close sections of it and redo it, modernize it, clean it up, make it, a decent place, and then close the other half and do that side. But you got a place that's not near neighborhoods. It's isolated by itself. It's on an island, and it's the perfect place for a prison. Just redo it, make it a clean and up to date and fireproof and all those kind of things. Update the thing, make it modern. But it's a perfect spot.
Because where are you gonna house that many prisoners?
It's self-contained. How could you not use a spot like that instead of tear that down? The only reason they want to do that is because some billionaires involved want to put up on the water housing and make a killing in the real estate market. It's the only reason.
Unbelievable.
You got a self-contained island. It's absolutely perfect. Modernize it for criminals, for a penal institution, and you got the perfect place.
Yeah, it's a political thing too.
And put a prison next to a children's school or something, or a house of worship.
Right.
Think about it. That's what they're going to do. They want to put a prison in each borough.
Ralph,
that's crazy.
Ralph, I wanted to ask your opinion, and it's only your opinion, of what you think the outcome's going to be for that Marine that that was on the subway. What do you think?
I feel he was 100% justified. I think he stood up for himself and the other people that felt threatened. I think if they follow the law, he'll be found innocent.
Yeah.
But the outcome, I can't say with today's everything is upside down, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do feel that he has an edge, being the jurors in Manhattan will be people that ride the trains, and they know what they see, feel, and have been through themselves. So I'm hoping that's the case. But during Vardia, they'll probably have the lawyers throw out anyone who rides a train. You know what I mean?
Right. I was just going to say, they should hail this guy as a hero. Anybody.
Absolutely. What do you want? If you want no one to get involved, that means you're telling people that you could go over and beat up an old lady or an old man. You could beat them up and no one's going to take action.
Yeah, because
this guy's a United States Marine, and he was taught respect and to protect people, and that's what he did.
Right.
I totally agree with you. The only thing that again, the justification, this guy could have killed everybody on that train. This is what people have to realize. The jury has to realize.
They have to realize that there's people that are going to stand up for people that can't stand up for themselves. And that's what police do. That's what the military does. And that's what this man did. And he should be hailed as a hero. And like everything else in this country, it's split right down the middle. And we got to just hope that, like I said, we get jurors on there who ride the train and they know what that feeling is to be threatened, because it goes on every minute down in the tunnel.
Even if he's found innocent, okay, that poor guy has got to worry about his family for quite a long time, okay, because he's going to be threatened, and his kids and his wife.
They're already doing it.
They're already doing that, no matter what.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This guy's life is ruined now. That's the problem.
Well, I don't know about ruined, but definitely changed.
Yep.
Like we said, there's half the people support him, and I'm sure he'll get a job, and I'm sure he'll be able to do things. But
I hope so.
His life is definitely.
Might be better for him to go back into the Marines again.
Maybe.
The thing is that the mindset in New York City is don't protect yourself. Don't defend yourself. You cannot defend yourself. They don't want to issue
other people that are helpless.
Right. I mean, they don't want to issue
a signal to the criminals that they could do what they want.
Right.
If they don't stand up for this guy,
Right.
you're giving another nod to the criminals to do what the hell they want.
Yeah, but you're also giving
Absolutely.
You're also giving a red light to people who do want to help because they say, wait a minute, if I help this person,
That's
they're
right.
gonna
That's
arrest
true.
me.
Yeah. That's too.
It's like that all. Yeah, it's the same thing for someone
But you
who
know
has
what?
a pistol
People that
permit.
are going to help other people when it's happening, they don't think of that.
Huh?
They don't think
Ralph,
of themselves.
Mhm.
That was
Ralph,
heroes.
I'll tell you the truth. I don't think that this guy is going to get a fair jury. I think that what they should do is bring it to a federal level and
No,
take
they're
it
not gonna
out
do
of
that.
New York.
It's not in the federal purview.
I
He has
No.
an
I
option.
know.
And you,
He does have an option.
Alvin
of
Bragg
jury
wants to make an example.
or a judge trial.
Right,
I
but
think if-
that's what I'm saying. You know, it's a lot of political, again, political spotlight. Let's, this guy is not going to get. I feel he's not going to get a fair, trial. And like, I think that if they brought it out of not out of New York, but I just don't think that he's going to get a fair.
Well, like I
fair
said, it
shake.
depends on if they get jurors to ride the train.
Yeah.
They get and that would help him more than going out of state or out of the city. If he gets people that use mass transit, I think he has a much better stand.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate, because here's a guy who probably saved that whole cause, everybody in that car's life. And accidents happen,
And look at the guy's record. Look at the guy's record. He has like 42 arrests or
44
something.
arrests.
44 arrests.
Riots.
Beat up old women already, old men. Come
Yep.
on. There's some people, they may not want to admit it, but there's some people that are just not fit to live with society.
No.
Right.
They're just
But
not
you're
fit to
gonna-
live with society.
But you're gonna get
Absolutely.
those groups. You're gonna get those groups that are gonna say, well, no, this guy
Well, that's their
again.
groups and their agenda.
Yeah, but
Right.
the thing is, there are many people like that out there who are mentally ill. The system failed them. Okay, the guy was arrested
Right.
44 times. Okay,
Right.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been on the street for that Marine to have an interaction with him or for that guy to be threatening the passengers of a train.
Shouldn't be
He
there.
should have been in a hospital or in jail.
Right.
41 arrests? How does it get
Make
there? I
it-
read about people that have 100 arrests. How does it get there?
Yeah.
A judge, that's another thing. All they do is hold police accountable. How about holding DAs accountable for not prosecuting and holding judges accountable for not sentencing?
Yeah. Right.
When they don't sentence a person that has 42 or 44 arrests, they're creating a menace to society by letting them be on the street. They don't hold
Yeah.
those judges accountable. There's, accountability is a big thing, and they only want to hold police accountable. That's all you ever hear. But what about DAs? What about judges? What about parole boards? You hear these guys. There's no more death penalty. You kill a cop, you get life in jail, and then you're out. You know how many cop killers are out? They let out like about 35 of them in the last couple of years. How does that happen? If you get life in jail, how does your life all of a sudden you're out?
You're out free. Yeah.
Well, that's parole
Yeah.
boards. They're not held accountable. You already went through. It's very hard to convict somebody to begin with. You have to have a unanimous decision. Then you got to be sentenced. All these processes are done, and then he's in jail, and then a parole board lets him out. You know how much you had to go through the state and the police and the prosecutors to get them to that point, and then they let them out.
Let them out.
No one's held accountable.
That's why. No wonder why the people don't want to be cops anymore, or the cops are just resigning. It's
Yeah.
terrible. I mean, I like you. I could never do that. I could never do that.
Well, like I say, it's a new breed of cop
Yeah.
that's indoctrinated into that system now, and they know the pitfalls. It's the cops that have like 10 or 15 years on that find it very difficult, if not impossible, to change. I thought I'm retired 40 years. I got out in 83. Well, technically it was January 84, but I'm out 40 years, right? Now, up to 3 years ago, I always thought I could come back and do policing. I thought I could change and I could, do my thing and use my brain to do police work today. The last 3 years, I gave up. There's no way I could do policing.
No.
It's such a radical change that I cannot do it.
It's a complete different world.
And the cops that feel that are the ones that have been on for 15 years and are going for the 20, or, they got 12 years, 10 years, but they've seen the change of the 3 years. The last 3 years have been major changes that affected the job so drastically that people are leaving before their retirements, quitting altogether, transferring, or anyone who hit their 20 is out. When I was on, they used to tease you, oh, you're a rookie for the first 20 years. Everybody had 30 to 40 years on. That was your life, and that's what you did. Today, they're running.
Man.
And the reason being what the system is.
No. Terrible. Nikki, how we doing? Maybe on time.
We're at an hour and 15.
Okay, I think it's want to wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
Okay.
Gotta get dinner.
Okay, I want to wrap it up with showing your book again, Ralph. Okay. Remember, people, Street Warrior. Gotta get it.
Got me like a hot potato there.
Yeah, that was my book.
All right, here we go.
Okay, thank you, Ralph. There you go. Street Warrior.
So,
Goodbye.
what is the Street Justice is the show, right?
Yes.
Street Justice, the Bronx,
Yep.
on Amazon now. And the book is available on Amazon also.
Right. Real good
Thank
book.
you again for having me. Thank you,
Ralph.
Ralph. Thank you, Ray.
Thanks for
Thank you,
coming on.
John.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Ralph.
Nikki.
Thanks, Ralph.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
Again, God bless and love
We
to
gotta
have
get together. We gotta get together, Ralph. You, me, and Bruce, and the wives.
Definitely.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me.
God bless you, buddy. Take care of yourself.
God bless you too.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Perfect. Yeah.